That's Wahoo. Just plug in. Alright. Greetings. Uncle Nathaniel. Go live. Trina, hey girl, hey. I made sure I was plugged in so it ain't gonna die on me. We good, it was good. Top of the day, beautiful people. If y'all enjoyed y'all day of rest yesterday, if y'all got a chance to rest. Alright, beautiful people. Let's see. Let's pick up here. Alright, beautiful people. Well, let's get started. Everybody on YouTube. Top of the day. That's 12 of the fixes. Alright, y'all. Let's go ahead and start with the Shema. Josiah, shalom. Nikki, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. Go ahead and pull up the Shema or the Shema. Alright, y'all. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Attention, please, everyone, everyone. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. Okay, beautiful people. So today it is Thursday, May the 27th, 2021. And we are on day 164 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 833. That is without the Sabbath days or the feast day Sabbath days added into the count. Why? Because we rest on those days as Yahuwah has commanded us, right? Got 6 days to work. Take 1 day and rest, just as he did, right? And it is on the 7th day, or the Sabbath day, that we rest. All right, so today we're reading Ezra 9. Pull it up. Ezra 9 and 10, then we start on Nehemiah 1. You know what I'm thinking we're going to do? Also, when we get done with Nehemiah, like we did last time, I'm going to bring in the Apocrypha, and we're going to read the 2 missing books from Ezra. We're going to add it on in here, right? Okay. So we're reading the last 2 chapters of Ezra today, and we start on Nehemiah, or Nehemiah. Some people say Nehemiah. Nehemiah, chapter 1. All right, y'all. So just in case you never read or heard 1st and 2nd Esdras. That's what it's called, Esdras. But when they had it added back to the Bible, it's called 3rd and 4th Ezra, right? Okay. So we're going to do that. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. All right. Ezra chapter 9. When these things had been done, the Hebrew leaders came to me and said, many of the people of Israel, even some of the priests and Levites, have not kept themselves separate from the other people living in the land. They have taken up detestable practices of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites, Egyptians, and Amorites. Look right here. I don't mean to cut it off so soon, so early. But look, when they were, and it's fresh in my mind because as I was going through the Torah this morning. Oh, y'all, I forgot to tell y'all. I'm sorry. The other day when we were reading, I'm going to come back to my point. The other day when we were reading, I told you that the Torah can literally be read within like an hour. It literally can, like every day. Like the meat of what was said, it is found in Exodus chapter 19 through chapter 23 of Exodus, right? That's the meat of the Torah. That's the portion that is for everyone, right? Now, the next few chapters from chapter 24 to chapter 32 is like the requirements for the priest, the priesthood, and the temple. So that's what you'll find through there. But I recommend, if you don't read anything else, you can meditate and study on Exodus chapter 19 through 23. Everything else that's given is the story around the Torah that was given. So whenever you see them say, and I'm sure it's probably missing some pieces, right? And there's definitely pieces added in with the sacrifices, right? We ain't gonna get too deep into it today, but I'm telling you, just like it was leaven added to the New Testament, there's definitely leaven added to the Old Testament, right? And I'm going to tell you, the blood sacrifices all the way through and through is leaven. Like I told you, I'm working on, we talk about it a little bit, but like I told you before, I have a Bible where I'm specifically going out, crossing out anything that got to do with the blood sacrifices, right? And then reread it. I can clearly tell that the stuff has been added, just how many times I've read through it and studied it. So, but now I understand even more, even getting back to gardening and how the body operates and how it works, and it's just, there's something wrong, right? So if we don't pick that up, we might be still led astray in some areas, right? Okay, so but we'll talk about that again later. But the Torah, like I said, it can be read every single day. Exodus, and I know they call the first 5 books, but the meat of the instructions and to jump right to it is Exodus chapter 19 through 23. Make a note of it. Highlight them chapters in your Bible, whatever. But that's it. Remember, the chapters 24 through 32 is for the priesthood. And there's a lot of leaven added in there, in the priesthood portion of it. And all that I said all this because when we got here to it's still verse 1 of Ezra chapter 9, it says, they have taken up the detestable practices of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites, Egyptians, and Amorites. You will see when you start reading through the Torah, Yahuwah specifically, very specifically, he always pointed out, he said, when you get to these lands, he said, I'm going to drive out the people before you. He said, but I'm not going to do it all at one time, at least the land become too much for you and the animals there overtake you. He said, but all the people that I want out, he said, I'm going to drive them out little by little. Either they're going to, they're driven out, maybe it's death. They actually decide to pick up and move. But either way, Yahuwah said he's going to get them out of there, right? He said, but while you're there, while I'm weeding them out, he said, do not take up the practices that they do. He said, because everything that they do will lead you into idolatry. If you start taking up what they do, although you're living in a land amongst people who worship idol gods, do not follow them. Do not worship in the way they do, because they will lead your heart away from me. They will cause you to commit idolatry, which is breaking my command, right? So, like I said, I was going through that this morning. So this right here, if you're familiar with that, you will see some of this stuff that Ezra, the book of Ezra, is bringing out. So I just wanted to say that to y'all, just in case you hadn't quite picked up on it yet, right? Okay, Josiah, I see your question. Does the blood moons have any significant meaning? It has significant meaning in the way the church teaches it, and the state of Israel teaches it, the Jewish people, right, for signs and stuff. Here's what I'm gonna say. From my personal experience, looking into all these things, I got all these blood moon prophecy books that I've read over the last few years, and as I've actually began to turn back to Yahuwah and to his commands, what I realize is, how can I say this? And I'm not saying discount it altogether. I'm really not. But Yahuwah has a covenant with us, right? And as long as we can see the sky, we went over this a little while ago. As long as we can see the sky, like heaven and earth bears witness to his covenant with us. As long as we can see heaven and earth, Yahuwah's covenant always stands. Now, when we see, there are some things that happen in nature that are normal, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a sign. And there are some signs and stuff in the sky, but a lot of these signs that we see, a lot of times it's because of things that man is doing, right? Because they spray the skies, different things going on. It could cause a film to cover the moon. Blood moons are not necessarily, they call them blood moons. It's not necessarily like a sign from heaven, so to speak. Like, you have to understand a little bit about nature and what happens during the seasons and how it, just like I said, I want to make sure I'm explaining this without getting into too much detail. There are some things that naturally occur in nature, and if we're uninformed, we can be fooled and we can be led to believe that it's something else when it's really not. So bless you, Isaiah. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. But I know how it's being taught, and you can track different things. But once you begin to understand a little bit more about nature and actually kind of get out there and study the words of Yah and like begin to apply them, some things you'll realize it's some of the teachings might be just a little bit off. And I know people make money off of teaching different things, and people just kind of kept in a state of flux all the time with different prophecies and things like this. But Yahuwah talks about it. He talks, I want to say it's Jeremiah. He said, don't be afraid of their prophecies, right? And I think one of them blood moons actually falls into that category. He said, don't be afraid of their prophecies because the other and it didn't say these exact words, but it said these words. He said, don't be afraid of their prophecies whereby the other nations are made afraid by them. And it specifically says where the other nations are made afraid of it. And the prophecy of the blood moons is one of those things that I've learned that has fallen into that category of what Yahuwah was talking about. Those are the things that frighten the nations, or those who are uninformed about naturally occurring things in nature. Like, people can teach things, and humans sometimes can be real spooky. Right? If you don't understand something, it's like, oh, no, don't go there. It's the devil, right? So that's all I want to say about that today, Josiah, right? Okay, so let me finish this because I ain't even get to verse 2 yet. Okay, I just start over since I was still on verse 1. This is Ezra's prayer concerning intermarriage. When these things had been, matter of fact, Josiah, you was the one that asked the question about intermarriage with other nations about a week ago. My 17-year-old jumped in. This is what Yahuwah says about this. Remember, I was saying it's not so much about race, like color of skin, but it's those in whom they serve and their background and what they do. Because if you're of the other nation and you're worshiping other gods, you're going to be led astray and drawn away from Yah. You'll be led into idolatry, which is also called adultery, right? Okay. When these things had been done, the Hebrew leaders came to me and said, Many of the people of Israel, and even some of the priests and Levites, have not kept themselves separate from the other people living in the land. They have taken up the detestable practices of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites, Egyptians, and Amorites. For the men of Israel have married women from these people and have taken them as wives for their sons. So the holy race has become polluted by these mixed marriages. Worse yet, the leaders and officials have led the way in this outrage. When I heard this, I tore my cloak and shirt, pulled my hair from my head and beard, and sat down utterly shocked. Then all who trembled at the words of the God of Israel came and sat with me because of this outrage committed by the returned exiles. And I sat there utterly appalled until the time of the evening sacrifice. So he's sitting here. Remember, they've all gone back. King Cyrus, they done issued a decree. Go ahead, help them whatever they need. Y'all go build up y'all home, walls, temple, whatever it is you need to do. Everything you need, take with you. Make sure they get everything they need. All the guards, everything, right? Everybody that was in the king's service. They read Yahuwah's commands to the people, right? And Ezra is saying he was utterly shocked. Like, guys, we just got back here, and y'all already starting to do the things that got us kicked out the last time, right? Hey, chill. Listen, I'll read again. When I heard this, remember, he said, worse yet, the leaders and officials have led the way in this outrage, meaning that they are going doing exactly what Yahuwah said. They're mixing with people who are committing idolatry. When I heard this, I tore my cloak and shirts, pulled hair from my head and beard, and sat down utterly shocked. Then all who trembled at the words of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, came and sat with me because of this outrage committed by the returned exiles. And I sat there utterly appalled until the time of the evening sacrifice. At the time of the sacrifice, I stood up from where I had sat in mourning with my clothes torn. At the time of the sacrifice, I stood up from where I had sat in the morning with my clothes torn. I fell to my knees and lifted my hands to Yahuwah my God. Thank you. I'm sorry, y'all. I fell to my knees and lifted my hands to Yahuwah my God. I prayed, oh my God, I am utterly ashamed. I blush to lift my face to you, for our sins are piled higher than our heads, and our guilt has reached to the heavens. From the days of our ancestors until now, we have been steeped in sin. That is why we and our kings and our priests have been at the mercy of the pagan kings of the land. We have been killed, captured, robbed, and disgraced, just as we are today. But now we have been given a brief moment of grace. For Yahuwah our God has allowed a few of us to survive as a remnant. He has given us security in this holy place. Our God has brightened our eyes and granted us some relief from our slavery. For we were slaves, but in his unfailing love, our God did not abandon us in our slavery. Instead, he caused the kings of Persia to treat us favorably. He revived us so we could rebuild the temple of our God and repair its ruins. He has given us a protective wall in Judah and Jerusalem. And now, oh, our God, what can we say after all of this? For once again, we have abandoned your commands. Your servants, the prophets, warned us when they said, the land you are entering to possess is totally defiled by the detestable practices of the people living there. From one end to the other, the land is filled with corruption. Don't let your daughters marry their sons. Don't take their daughters as wives for your sons. Don't ever promote the peace and prosperity of those nations. If you follow these instructions, you will be strong and will enjoy the good things the land produces, and you will leave this prosperity to your children forever. Now we are being punished because of our wickedness and our great guilt, but we have actually been punished far less than we deserve. For you, our God, have allowed some of us to survive as a remnant. Even so, we are again breaking your commands and intermarrying with people who do these detestable things. Won't your anger be enough to destroy us so that even this little remnant no longer survives? O Yahuwah, God of Israel, you are just. We come before you in our guilt as nothing but an escaped remnant, though in such a condition none of us can stand in your presence. Ezra chapter 10. While Ezra prayed and made this confession, weeping and lying face down on the ground in front of the temple of Yahuwah, a very large crowd of people from Israel, men, women, and children, gathered and wept bitterly with him. Then Shechaniah, son of Jehiel, a descendant of Elam, said to Ezra, "We have been unfaithful to our God, for we have married these pagan women of the land. But in spite of this, there is hope for Israel. Let us now make a covenant with our God to divorce our pagan wives and to send them away with their children. We will follow the advice given by you and by the others who respect the commands of our God. Let it be done according to the law of Yahuwah. Get up, for it is your duty to tell us how to proceed in setting things straight. We are behind you, so be strong and take action." So Ezra stood up and demanded that the leaders of the priests and the Levites and all the people of Israel swear that they would do as Shechaniah had said, and they all swore a solemn oath. Then Ezra left the front of the temple of Yahuwah and went to the room of Jehonan, son of Eliashib. He spent the night there without eating or drinking anything. He was still in mourning because of the unfaithfulness of the returned exiles. Then a proclamation was made throughout Judah and Jerusalem that all the exiles should come to Jerusalem. Those who failed to come within 3 days, if the leaders and elders so decided, forfeit all their property and be expelled from the assembly of the exiles. Within 3 days, all the people of Judah and Benjamin had gathered in Jerusalem. This took place on December 19th, and all the people were sitting in the square before the temple of Yahuwah. They were trembling both because of the seriousness of the matter and because it was raining. Then Ezra the priest stood and said to them, "You have committed a terrible sin. By marrying pagan women, you have increased Israel's guilt. So now confess your sins to Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, and do what he demands. Separate yourselves from the people of the land and from these pagan women." Then the whole assembly raised their voices and answered, "Yes, you are right. We must do as you say." Then they added, "This isn't something that can be done in a day or two, for many of us are involved in this. This isn't something that can be done in a day or two, for many of us are involved in this extremely sinful affair. And this is the rainy season, so we cannot stay out here much longer. Let our leaders act on behalf of us all. Let everyone who has a pagan wife come at a scheduled time, accompanied by the leaders and judges of his city, so that the fierce anger of our God concerning this affair may be turned away from us. Only Jonathan, son of Asahel, and Jaziah, son of Tikvah, opposed this course of action, and they were supported by Meshullam and Shabbatai the Levite. So this was the plan they followed. Ezra selected leaders to represent their families, designating each of the representatives by name. On December 29th, the leaders sat down to investigate the matter. By March 27th, the first day of the new year, they had finished dealing with all the men who had married pagan wives. These are the priests who had married pagan wives. From the family of Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, and his brothers, Maaseiah, Eliezer, Jarib, and Gedaliah, they vowed to divorce their wives, and they each acknowledged their guilt by offering a ram as a guilt offering. From the family of Immer, Hanai, and Zebediah. From the family of Haram, Messiah, Elijah, Shemaiah, Jehiel, and Uzziah. From the family of Pashur, Elonai, Messiah, Ishmael, Nathanael, Jozabad, and Elasa. These are the Levites who were guilty: Jozabad, Shimei, Keliah, also called Kelita, Pethaliah, Judah, and Eleazar. This is the singer who was guilty: Eliashib. These are the gatekeepers who were guilty: Shelem, Telam, and Uri. These are the other people of Israel who were guilty: from the family of Parosh, Ramiah, Isaiah, Malchijah, Mia Jamin, I'm screwing up some of these names, y'all, forgive me. Eleazar, Hashabiah, and Benaiah. From the family of Elam, Mattaniah, Zechariah, Jehiel, Abdi, Jeremoth, and Elijah. From the family of Zatu, Oenai, Eliashib, Mattaniah, Jeremoth, Zabad, and Aziza. From the family of Bebai, Jehonan, Hananiah, Zebai, and Athali. From the family of Bani, Meshulam, Maluk, Adiah, Jashub, Shield, and Jeremoth. From the family of Pahath Moab, Adnah, Kilal, Benaiah, Messiah, Mattaniah, Bezalel, Benui, and Manasseh. From the family of Hiram, Eleazar, Ishijah, Malkijah, Shemaiah, Shimeon, Benjamin, Maluk, and Shemariah. From the family of Hashem, Mattatah, Zabad, Eliphalet, Jeremiah, Manasseh, and Shimei. From the family of Bani, Madai, Amram, Uel, Benaiah, Bediah, Kilui, Vaniah, Merimoth, Eliashib, Mattaniah, and Jashub. This just spreading like wildfire. One saw him do it, and everybody's, oh, we can do this? Oh, I'm going to go ahead and grab me one or two. Shalom, Mom. You see how this sin just spreads like wildfire, right? And it started with the priest. The priest. The lips of the priest should reserve knowledge, like the book of Malachi say. But you got priests defiling the commandments, defiling their office, and leading the entire nation astray. The exiles who will let return, mind you. From the family of Bani. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. It's my grandbaby. Sorry, y'all. From the family of Bani, Madai, Amram, Uel, Benaiah, Bediah, Kilui. Elijah, does he want something to eat or something to drink? See if he wants some fruit or something. Little baby. We live. The whole world hears you screaming, little child. You want apple?
No, what do you want, food?
He look like he wants you to pick him up.
What?
Okay, from the family of Benu, Shimei, Shelemiah, Nathan, Adiah, Machnabi, Sheshai, Shari, Azarel, Shelemiah, Shemariah, Shalem, Amariah, and Joseph. From the family of Nebo, Jael, Mattathiah, Zabad, Zabina, Jedi, Joel, Benaiah. Each of these men had a pagan wife, and some even had children by these wives. And that was the last chapter of Ezra, my beautiful people. So that was Ezra 9 and 10. And I'm not sure if you noticed, they knew something was going on, because not was it only just the rainy season, but I believe it's we're going to read it when we get to, don't quote me, but it tells you that the rain, they mentioned it was the rainy season. We cannot handle this now, but the rain that was happening, it was like it wasn't normal. So they knew something was wrong. When nature gets out of whack, and Ezra realized it, and with the rain, he was like, okay, somebody has sinned. And when they realized what it was, that the exiles, the ones who had just let come back, when he realized that they all, not all of them, but majority of them were sinning, starting from the priests down. That's why everything was going haywire. That's why he sat there, my bad, and he sat there utterly astonished at what was going on, right? So we're going to read over it. Let me see if I can find it, rain. But I'm sure we're going to read over it while we're over the next few days. I just forget exactly where it was, but it gives more detail on why, and the rain, how it was unnatural at the moment. I'm so sorry, y'all. He was in the background. My grandbaby. I'm trying to get him quiet. Nehemiah chapter 1. These are the memoirs of Nehemiah, son of Hekaliah. Nehemiah's concern for Jerusalem. In late autumn, in the month of Kislev, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was at the fortress of Susa. Hanani, one of my brothers, came to visit me with some of the other men who had just arrived from Judah. I asked them about the Hebrews who had returned there from captivity and about how things were going in Jerusalem. They said to me, "Things are not going well for those who return to the province of Judah. They are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed by fire." When I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Then I said, "Oh Lord," hey guys, I need y'all to get out the kitchen. Bella, y'all take that through there. Y'all being too loud. When I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Then I said, "O Lord, God of heaven, the great and awesome God who keeps his covenant of unfailing love with those who love him and obey his command, listen to my prayer. Look down and see me praying night and day for your people Israel. I confess that we have sinned against you. Yes, even my own family and I have sinned. We have sinned terribly by not obeying the commands, decrees, and regulations that you gave us through your servant Moses. Please remember what you told your servant Moses. If you are unfaithful to me, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and obey my commands and live by them, then even if you are exiled to the ends of the earth, I will bring you back to the place I have chosen for my name to be honored. The people you rescued by your great power and strong hand are your servants. O Lord, please hear my prayer. Listen to the prayers of those of us who delight in honoring you. Please grant me success today by making the king favorable to me. Put into his heart to be kind to me. In those days, I was the king's cupbearer." And that is the end of Nehemiah chapter 1 and the end of our reading of the scriptures for today. So let us go ahead and hop on over here to Fossilized Customs. And we're going to pick up where we left off at on Tuesday. We left off on page 99. We were talking about how Halloween was created and where it originated from, and it was originally called the Feast of the Dead, right? Well, it's funny, somebody responded on the video yesterday, day before yesterday, and he was talking about this. There's a song that's done. It's like it's by a Caucasian gentleman. I forget his name now, but I know the song because when he put it up, I went and looked it up. He said, "Oh, so this what this song was talking about? Tie a ribbon around the old oak tree. Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, right?" And I'll post it. Hold on, I'll put yellow ribbon. I mean, you can with yours, just put it in something else. Oh, well, go ahead and just mix it up then. Yeah. But it's called, that's not the title, but it's Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. And what we know that is, from learning about Halloween is, and we talked about it. If you missed it, just go back and watch the video. But anyway, the Feast of the Dead, when we see the kids dressed up as the dead ghosts, goblins, or whatever it is they dressing up for Halloween, somebody dead, right? That was signifying to the people who were living in those days. That was a representation of the spirits who would come looking for an offering, right? And for the parents who didn't want their children to be taken and burned on the fires of Molech, so to speak, be offered as a sacrifice, they would try to appease the deities or the gods or whatever, and they would take a yellow ribbon and tie it around the oak tree to let them know, actually to plead with them that their children would be kept safe, right? And that their children wouldn't be one of the ones who was taken that night for a sacrifice. So whenever you see a yellow ribbon tied around an oak tree, that's where it comes from. In the bonfires, they would sacrifice some of them on bonfires, but we know that the originating for it wasn't bonfire, it was a bone fire, like the bones in your body, bone fire, right? Okay, so that's where we're at. All right, so the last section of this book, last paragraph, the title is called From Samhain to All Saints. Without forcing the pagans to drop their practices, But except Christianity, the RCC, remember RCC is a Roman Catholic Church, merely made allowances to accommodate the barbarians and called it acculturation. They sanctified the pagan rituals by... I'm sorry, y'all. He a little fussy this morning. Somebody woke him up before his time. They sanctified the pagan rituals by absorbing and camouflaging them. In the Elijah, in my foot locker, in my foot locker in my room, there, all the way to the left side, there is a huge bag of dum dums. Grab one and give it to him, please. Go ahead, follow, or he don't know which way he want to go. He's running back and forth in the hallway. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Without forcing the pagans to drop their practices, but accept Christianity, the RCC merely made allowances to accommodate the barbarians and called it acculturation. They sanctified the pagan rituals by absorbing and camouflaging them. In the 7th century, the Pantheon at Rome was extracted from the barbarians and made it into a cathedral. In the Greek is cathedra, meaning seat or throne. Pantheon means all gods. They renamed it the Church of the Blessed Virgin and All Martyrs. Thus, it changed from the worship of all gods or pantheon to the center for honoring all saints. The day chosen to honor all the hallowed saints was first observed on the evening of May 14th and was known as All Hallows Festival. Or we heard about the day before, All Hallows Eve, right? This festival was officially authorized in 835 CE by Pope Gregory. We say that was the 4th. Y'all, I had to get my Roman numeral chart. I remember. Y'all text, okay. It was officially authorized in 835 CE by Pope Gregory the 4th after it was moved to November the 1st to coincide with the festival of Samhain. It began on the evening of October 31st, which was called All Hallows Eve. Saints in the Hebrew word is Kodashim, based on the word Kodesh, meaning set apart. A Kodeshi is a living person, and they don't need the RCC to canonize them after they...
Mom,
Yes.
you tell Elijah get Jackson a lollipop.
Yes, I did.
Now I get one.
Yes. A Kodeshi is a living person, and they don't need the RCC or the Roman Catholic Church to canonize them after they die to be a saint. The word Kodesh has been translated to the word holy and hallowed, which really means hallowed. A great amount of behavior from ancient solar worship came from the Far East, as the ascended deities worshipped in the East were depicted with blue sky skin and a glowing nimbus encircling their heads. Here's a picture. You guys probably know what that is already. So anytime you see a picture of like one of the deities or Greek gods, and even JC in a Christian church, no matter if he white or black, don't matter that you change his skin to black. It's still wrong, people, right? It's still wrong. It's still wrong. It's still the same human sacrifice. It's just trying to catch the ones that's running free. Changing to black. He black. He black. Y'all black. He black. Y'all. No. I'm the son. We're the son of the Most High, right? Okay. Pagans used yellow nimbuses and floating gold hoops in stone carvings, paintings, and stained glass windows, as well as statues to identify their deities and founders as being inhabited by the sun. It's all sun worship. Notice, you'll see the black JC just like the white JC with the halo going around his head. I'm telling you, y'all gotta pay attention. When you see a halo about the head of someone in real life, it's probably a ball of lightning. But in any case, get away from them. The translation Holy Spirit comes from the original Hebrew Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit. Ruach is the Hebrew word for breeze or wind, And it is the presence of the helper. Okay, they say Yahusha in spirit. That's not quite right, right? We'll just cross that out. It's always Yah, right? It's always Yah. He is not a hallowed spook. And after, yeah, see. Okay, right here. Okay, I'm going to read what it says. He is not a hallowed spook. And after his resurrection, distinctly, he said he was not a ghost. All of this, y'all. Hold on. I read it so y'all won't say I'm skipping over it or whatever. But if you've been here the last few days and we've been talking about this, there's been leaven that's been added, right? Okay. All right. He first sent his... Hold on. It's Yahuwah. Okay. Yahuwah sent his spirit to the Nazarene, or it says Ruach. Whenever you hear Ruach, it's spirit, like it just said, right? So don't get all discombobulated when you hear people saying, oh, the Ruach HaKodesh. Like they just use it interchangeably, but a lot of them still use it interchangeably ignorantly, right? It's always Yahuwah alone, right? Okay, not somebody else outside of Yah. Whenever you hear Yah talking to you, call it the spirit of Yah. It's always him. Matter of fact, if you hear multiple voices, and some people do, his voice is very distinguishable from all others, right? I clearly know when Yah is talking to me and when another spirit is trying to talk to me. I'm like, yep, get out of here, right? And look, here's something that you may or you may not know. Do you also know that sometimes spirits that you hear, it may not necessarily be a spirit from the unseen world, but did you know that it could also be a human spirit that is projecting themselves? Like, that's possible. You hear people call it you if you heard of astral projecting, that's a real thing. Like, you can literally project your spirit into another place and do stuff. I know that might sound kind of crazy to some people. I'm just telling you what I know, right? You got to be careful when you get into that, because when you begin doing that, I ain't telling you to do it, and I ain't telling you not to do it. What I'm telling you is be careful, because there are some vicious human spirits in that realm who don't follow any kind of rules, right? They don't follow any kind of rules, and they think they getting away with stuff because you can't necessarily, their victims can't necessarily see them with their physical eyes, so they can't really go report them to anybody. Like, just that's on a whole nother level. But I'm just saying, sometimes people may think they being attacked demonically by some people, and that will happen because there is spirits here from the Nephilim, or when they die, their spirit stays and roams the earth. But human people can do that as well, right? I haven't found a book that tells you can do that, but from personal experience of it happening to me, I know that it can be done. So I'm just saying, okay, just so you know, okay. See, he first sent his Ruach to the Nazarene, gathered in the temple on the 50th day from the count of the day after the Sabbath to the day after the seventh Sabbath, now called Pentecost. In the Greek, it's the count for 50. This was the annual appointed time in Leviticus 23 and Deuteronomy chapter 16, which commemorated the giving of the Torah at Sinai. It is really called Shabuot, meaning weeks. The Torah was written in the hearts of the Nazarene, fulfilling the prophesied renewed covenant in Jeremiah 31 and Hebrews 8 and 10. Mythology is the next section. A thesaurus will tell you that mythology is the study of fictional traditions, fables, or imaginary stories which sometimes originate from prehistoric times to keep the Nazarene from being deceived. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I can say, I just thought about what I said, although I haven't found books where you will find those books are found, and I ain't telling you to go over to that side, but a lot of those books that show you how to do that, how to astral project, it's found not necessarily on the church side of things. It's found it's found in places where you find more darker materials, right? And the people who are using that are like those who are called witches and warlocks and anybody, the Wiccans, anybody that's in the dark practices. They have access to a lot of that stuff, right? So it's rampant on that side where you can easily go pull it if you know what you're looking for. But even they know it works, so they kind of take those things and they use it against the masses who've been spooked out about it and don't know what it is, so they just blame it all on the devil. No, that's Keisha from down the street. Girl, you better quit playing with me. No, seriously, but y'all get what I'm saying. But seriously, that's real talk. Trina said, yes, I may be the only one in adult movies watching kid movies. I may be the only adult in the movies watching kid movies. No, you're not. She was saying she was thinking about the movie Coco. This was earlier when I was reading earlier. I'm sorry. I just saw your comment. Okay. A thesaurus will tell you that mythology is the study of fictional traditions, fables, or imaginary stories which sometimes originate from prehistoric times. To keep the Nazarene from being deceived, our old Pharisee, Nazarene brother Paul, wrote an important letter to his younger pupil Timothy. In the letter, he told Timothy that things were going to be really depraved later on. I give you this charge, or order, or command. Preach the word. In parentheses, it has Torah. Be prepared in season and out of season. In season means during the appointed times declared for assemblies at Leviticus 23 and Deuteronomy chapter 16, which were done away by Constantine, fulfilling Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction, for the time will come when men will not put up with sound doctrine. In parentheses, doctrine, it says it's teaching. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth, or Torah, and turn aside to myths. Read all of 2 Timothy, especially chapters 3 and 4. And we know this is definitely the truth. All right, the next section is called Heaven. And Babel's myth of going there. The word heaven is from the original inspired Hebrew word shemayim. This means the skies, or even our modern term, outer space. It was also used as a customary substitution for the name of Yahuwah, perhaps to keep from offending Yahudim who consider it profaning or blaspheming the name to utter it aloud. Israel's wife, Leah, named their fourth child Judah, or Yehuda, meaning worshiper of Yah. Daniel 9:19 shows also how people bear his name. Yehuda was corrupted to Judah, then Jude, and for the last several hundred years, the word Jew has come into use. Yehuda is the father of one tribe. Okay, this bring out a point I was going to say yesterday, but I had to look it up. Listen to what he said right here. I'm going to scratch this out, but this is what it says in the New Testament, right? It says Yehuda, or Judah, is the father of one tribe, and Yahusha descended from him through Miriam. Now, we know this without getting into all the details, right? How does Yahuwah say the bloodline is to be tracked and traced back? Is it through the mother or the father? Like scientifically, how can we even identify fathers with sons? And for that fact, daughters as well, right? Through DNA. It's the Y chromosome, and only men carry it. Daughters do not carry it, although they would carry, although the boys carry the maternal and the paternal gene from the father and the mother, but it's only identifiable in men children, right? So how could they tell that JC, or you see how this is a play on words? Even if you are completely ignorant to some scientific things that is like common sense today, how would you know that? How would you know that he comes from the tribe of Judah because he came through Miriam? That is impossible, right? It's impossible, because everywhere else we look at the genealogies, although they may add the wife or the woman who one of the Israelites came through, as we see through through the genealogies in the Old Testament, they may add the mother, but it always has the father, right? To separate, like when they said Jacob, right? Jacob, whose name was later turned to Israel. When it gives the women he bore children by, it said these were the sons and daughters, most of the sons, but if they had a daughter, they listed them. But these were the sons who came through Rachel. These were the sons or children who came through Leah. Then through the concubines and stuff like that, right? But it never just lists the woman alone, because you cannot track the lineage through the woman. You can only track the maternal lineage. And what I was going to say the other day is, if you look at the Jewish people in the state of Israel that was created by the Balfour Declaration, which was the America and Rome, or the Vatican, they created this, right? That's why everybody must stand with Israel, right? America created that, right? That's not the real people. But anyway, they look at the maternal line. Everything is backwards from what Yahuwah said, right? Science proves to you that you can only track this through men, right? So we know, even when you read the New Testament, that should be the first bit, right? When you get started in the New Testament, the first, through the genealogy, like those of you that skip over the genealogies, blah, 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 next chapter, you miss it, right? You miss it. So from the very beginning, the garbage starts, right? The leaven is added in. To see all those who have an ear to hear, all those who paying attention, let's see if they catch this, right? Like we said before, a lot of people say the New Testament should really be called the New Test. Let's see if you was paying attention to the Old Covenant, right? A lot of people are not. They are not, right? It never lists his father. It just say God was his father. But we know all those who come into this world who are not Nephilim, like giants and stuff, and we can clearly see if you were the offspring of a Nephilim, you would have some of that going on, right? And it doesn't say that he had any of this going on. So you had a human pappy somewhere. Who the daddy, right? And they tell you it wasn't Joseph, it was a stepdaddy. So either Miriam was sleeping around, or the whole friggin' story is made up, right? Right. So some people might, you doing too much, just read the story and go, no. That's how people let it straight. Is Elijah in there? Elijah. Is he still upstairs? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I gotta answer my door. Oh, he's sitting in there and had on headphones. Okay. Sorry, y'all. All right, y'all. So I just want to bring that up. I know some people think I'm blaspheming, but I'm trying to get y'all to pay attention. All right, so let's go back. Yehuda was corrupted to Judah, then Jude, and for the last several hundred years, the word Jew has come into use. Yehuda is the father of one tribe, and we'll just go ahead and cross this out where it says, and Yahusha descended from him through Miriam. That's a lie. Cross it out. Remember I told you this book got a little leaven in it because he's still holding on to the human blood sacrifice as well. But we're going through crossing it out, just like we got to do when we actually read through the scriptures. All of it ain't true. It is not the complete infallible word of the Most High. There's a lot of garbage that's been added to that book. And if you're not familiar with Yahuwah's Torah, it's hard to pick it out. It's really hard to pick it out. And you're taken by a lot of it, which keeps you in this perpetual cycle of just staying away from Yah, you know? If anyone asks if you are a Jew, in general, the answer would be yes, because it can refer to any worshiper of Yahuwah. Will anyone go to heaven when they die, or even after they're resurrected? There is a kingdom of heaven described in Scripture, and this is referring to the world to come, the reign or kingdom of Yahuwah. All right, y'all be safe. Look for your wallet. All right. Love you too. Be safe. Hold on. There is a kingdom of heaven described in Scripture, and this is really referring to the world to come, the reign or kingdom of Yahuwah. He fills the universe, but says his throne will be in the new Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim means foundation of peace, and Yerushalayim is Jerusalem. Ir means city, and Yerushalayim is the city of peace. The site was originally called Yebus. A few miles to the west was Jericho or Jericho. Remember, there was no J, so he's changing all that out. The occupants of Jericho were mostly moon worshippers, and they knew that the people of Yahuwah were coming, and their deities wouldn't be able to help them. The new Jerusalem will be coming down from the skies, and the meek will inherit the earth. There is not even a hint in the writings that anyone will be going anywhere in the skies. We will be caught up and gathered to be with Yahushua, but we will not be living anywhere in the sky. Right, so even this right here, we will be caught up. This is how they go ahead and scratch this out, right? Because they took that out of context. You let's see. You can leave but we will not be living anywhere in the sky. That's true. You ain't gonna be living in the sky, right? And it's not a catching up or a catching away, so to speak. Because what Yahuwah said is going to be a returning of his people to the land, to their original land. That's what that is. If you want to look at the rapture as being that, okay, but I would say not okay, because people who don't understand it still get it all misunderstood, right? Okay, so there's not even a hint in the writings that anyone will be going to anywhere in the skies. Bella, stop. Even the dead will be raised, but if they are already in heaven with him, then why are they only being gathered to him? Hold on. But if they are already in heaven with him, then why are they only being gathered to him? They will sleep until he returns. Yerushalayim is a city of peace. And guys, we're going to end this in a couple minutes. My background's too loud today. They will sleep until he returns. Yerushalayim will be a city of peace, but it will receive a new name, Yahuwah Shammah, meaning Yahuwah is there. The earth will be restored, and those who obey the living water that flows from the city, which is the Torah, will enter it. The kingdom of outer space will be established on earth among men, with the throne of the Creator here. The high priest or the Kohen Gadol, a Hebrew rabbi, will be seated on the throne. So the dead saints, Kodeshim and the Nazarene who follow Yahushua will be here on earth clothed in immortality. Okay, scratch out all this last part, y'all. Hold on. I'm going to read this last part. Most of us ask for advice when we already know the answer, but we want a different one. Okay, so right here, listen. So this right here, this last sentence where it says the high priest of the Kohen Gadol, a Jewish Yehudi rabbi, will be seated on the throne. So the dead saints, Kodeshim, and the Nazarene who follow Yahushua will be here on earth clothed in immorality. The only thing you can keep is we will be here on earth, right? If we go back to Daniel, Yahuwah says, remember Daniel had this vision. And it says, I saw one like the Son of Man, right? And it goes through and it talks about how judgment takes his seat and began to rule, and his rule would never end, right? That just kind of summed up the vision he had. But if you keep on reading, it gives the interpretation of that dream. And it said the one who looked like the Son of Man wasn't one person. It was a nation of people who were ruling, right? It's the entire nation of Israel who is ruling as kings. Not one person. Yes,
Jay just slammed this door.
Okay. All right.
This door.
So it's different things like this. So when you go through, and don't get frustrated when you see things that seem to be conflicting, right? It absolutely is conflicting, but don't get frustrated. Go back to what it originally says. And once you have the proper understanding on who the Son of God is, right? We know that the Son of God, Yahuwah said, my firstborn son is Israel. Not one person. Yahuwah's son is a nation of people. In the Old Testament, when you get to New, they just completely use a singular form. They created one person. They call him the only begotten Son of God. Yahuwah never said that. He never said anything about an only begotten. And you would quickly put that away if you understood why he called us his firstborn, right? It's like only begotten, like in all. They play with words, y'all. I see how some of them do it who are ignorant, who truly, they say, okay, well, it's through him that you're saved. So If he's keeping the laws of Yah and we walk as he walked, wouldn't naturally we be walking as Yahuwah's Torah said? Now, I get that logic. Now, if that was true through and through, then I would say, okay, let's go with that. But I say, let's not go with that because of some of the stuff that the New Testament says that Yahuwah says that Yahuwah says not to do, but JC says it's okay to do. And don't try and take that and flip that all around like, well, on the spiritual side, because it's not, because we're not even to act like we're doing some of the things that Yahuwah said we're not to do, because it trains our minds to do those things and go against Torah. We're going to eventually act those things out, right? So that's why I said you really, 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 really must know what Yahuwah says, right? And so a lot of this, like I said, we scratching out a lot of this 11. And the high priest will be a kingdom of priests, right? Just like Yahuwah said, you're going to be a kingdom of priests to me, right? To the whole world, so that the whole world who has gone astray, you're the firstborn son, because of the other nations, he desires many more sons who would return to him as the only creator, to let them know, to teach them. I want my firstborn son, those who I've entrusted with the words of life. That's that I have taught it to teach, that I have taught it to, who will teach it appropriately to the nations. Go out there and tell them that there is a living God and I am he. And what they're worshiping are gods of wood and stone who are deaf, dumb, and blind. They can't see, they can't hear, they can't speak, they can't eat any of that food they're offering them. Turn them back to the ways of life. Teach them. Matter of fact, make your life a living pillar, living sacrifice, so that even if you never open your mouth, they could look at you and see, wait a minute, life comes from everything you do. What are you doing that I'm not? Wait, hold on. Excuse me. We ain't gotta go chasing after nobody. The light will draw them to us, right? The light will draw them to us. So with that being said, please be aware of what you're reading, especially if you only read the New Testament. I would say pause on that. Pause on that and go read the words of Yah. Go through, spend time in the Old Testament. Take about a year and read it over and over and over and over again, right? Don't read it with the filters that the church has given you, like all of this is foreshadowing, JC, because it's not. When you read it, you will see what has been added in to make it look like it connect to JC, whereby they can say this is foreshadowing this, and it absolutely does not, people, right? Okay. So with that being said, we're going to pause right here with the section. We'll pick it back up tomorrow with the section that says what happens when we die, right? All right, so sorry about all the noise in the background today, y'all. Hopefully it'll be a little more quiet tomorrow when we come on live. All right, so today it is Thursday, May the 27th, 2021, day 164 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 833. Today we read the last 2 chapters of Ezra chapter 9 and Ezra chapter 10. We started in Nehemiah chapter 1. We read Fossilized Customs, and we started on page 96. And we ended, or paused, on page 101. Yep. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and pull up the blessing for today. You know, people got to get to work, and we're already, where we at? Yeah, we already at the hour mark anyway. So let's go ahead and pull up the blessing. Thanks for hanging out with me today, Uncle JD. I know you've been here. I just forgot to say hello. All right, y'all. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Yeshua means salvation. He asked a question, who is Rachel? I was talking about one of Jacob's wives. One of his wives. The wife he worked for Laban for, which actually became his second wife, but Laban gave his sister Leah to him. That's what I was talking about. Who is Rachel? Okay. All right, y'all. That's it. There's no more questions. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank y'all for hanging out. Trina, just saw your comment. Yeah, that's right. So either he had to have a human father from that line, or it's all a lie, right? It is. Yes, absolutely. Because you got to remember, that's why I'm sorry. I know I said we can go, but go if y'all need to. Get to work, y'all. But I'm going to answer this. So with JC, it absolutely, when Yahuwah gave King David the promise, well, the promise originated with Abraham, right? And passing it down, but it was the line of King David that Yahuwah said he would give the throneship to, right? And that the king, so whenever there is a human king among us, right? Although Yahuwah is ultimate king, that king would be in submission. He's the king here on earth is like the leader of Yahuwah's army. Look at it in that fashion. Yahuwah is king, right? But the person that he puts in charge here, just like when you go anywhere, because it's a bunch of people, you need somebody in charge, right? So Yahuwah, before it was actual kings, Yahuwah used judges, right? There was always a head leader that was in direct communication with Yahuwah, right? So he kind of set up ranks. Yes, so it had to come from David, right? The king had to come from David. And if Yeshua was a king like the church teaches, that discounted him right there when we start the book of Matthew, because it cannot pinpoint a father to the Davidic bloodline or to the lineage in Judah. It doesn't pinpoint anybody, right? So people like to over explain it. So with this, well, doesn't God supersede all of that? Well, yeah, but don't play with me. You're playing with words, right? Just like with when we talked about the other day, the Melchizedek order. I forget who it was that asked about the Melchizedek order, right? Matter of fact, if you go back and watch that video and just skip to the end, I put a time marker where you can click on and listen to it. They do a play on the Melchizedek order, and I meant to mention this yesterday. So if the church teaches you, and they like to use, they say JC is a priest in the order of Melchizedek, right? What they do, they supersede in Yahuwah's last command, his last order, which is switched from Melchizedek. Remember, Melchizedek is simply a title, like mom is a title, right? And we know that the Melchizedek that they're referring to, that they're trying to link him to, is Shem. Shem is all the way back here. He's one of Noah's sons. By doing that, by making him a priest in the line, in the order of Melchizedek, they're trying to supersede, they're trying to trump what Yahuwah did with Jacob. So if we take it all the way back here to Shem, what does that do? That broadens the bloodline on who can be added to the ruling class, right? So because if we go back to Shem, if we go all the way back to Shem, this expands the bloodlines, and we can see it happening. Well, the Jewish people that say, well, I'm Hebrew, and they're right. Some of them have some Hebrew blood in them. That's why Yahuwah narrowed it down through this particular one, right? Even though there's whiting out, so if you understand, you would get it, because I study kind of like a little bit of everything, and to kind of run things out, go down the line. If you take him all the way back to the order of Melchizedek, this opens up the line to everybody. Yes, we're all children of the Most High, right? Because Shem was right there after the flood. That literally opens it up to everybody, right? After the flood, it was Noah and his 3 sons, right? And then you got the people that stem from them. So clearly, just about everybody can be included, with the exception of the other 2, Ham and Japheth, right? Then you have Shem. So at least 1/3 out of all the people on the earth can track themselves all the way back to Shem, right? And the other 2/3 would either be to Japheth or to Ham, right? So you see, it's a play on words. It's that Jedi mind trick. We're going to supersede it here, where Yahuwah was narrowing it down, where there would be no confusion. Because he goes, even when you look at the genealogies, it's like the scepter, different things is passed through the lineages. It narrows it down. Just like you can tell although I'm a part of a bigger family, like my mom and my dad, they have 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy. All of us have children except for my brother as of today, right? So, but say if a blessing, I'm the firstborn of my bunch, right, of my family. So say if the blessing is handed down through the firstborn, it would be, okay, Pam's family, Pam and her. But remember, it's not through the woman, it's through the man. Get what I'm saying for the sake of the example, right? I'm just using my family. So, but although I have sisters and a brother who we are related, if the blessing was handed down to my family and then to my sons and my daughters, not saying y'all get, I'm not saying that my other siblings aren't blessed, but for the sake of the conversation, it's like they want to supersede this where it was passed down. Let's just go back to the parents, right? And now all four of us can be, it's just exactly what they're doing with the Melchizedek order. That's what they're doing. They're trying to supersede the passing down of the throne by going back a generation or so and putting everybody here. So now it's like everybody's in the running now. So we all can be. And I'm just like, yeah, but you don't even see that if you don't know. The best way I can explain it, y'all, based on my understanding as of today, that's what is happening. And when you get familiar with the Torah, with the words of Yah, the truth, you can begin to uncover a lot of that stuff. You literally have to put away everybody's interpretation and allow Yahuwah himself to teach you. No matter how logical and how learned you think your teachers are and how good they are with breaking stuff down, sometimes you even have to put, I ain't saying you got to throw everything away. I ain't saying throw away the baby with the bathwater. But there comes a time where you just need to put everything away and just go back and let Yah teach you. Yah, help me understand this, just without the teaching of everybody else. And then as you get through it, as Yah teaches you, you're able to pick from your different teachers in the different places. Okay, this, yep, I can keep this, I can keep this. We'll leave that over there, toss that out with the drawers. That's good for nothing but the fire. And you'll see a lot of the stuff that you've been taught, even things that sounded really good, it's good for nothing but the fire, right? So that's what I want to say about that. And that's what Trina, that was going back to what Trina said. She said, so either he had to have a human father from that line or it's all a lie, right? Yes. And y'all know me as of today, I ain't too much biting my tongue. I'm leaning on to the side that it's all a lie, right? He's a made up character. He's a compilation of a few different people and different things that have gone on, have been taken from the Old Testament. But you can't even get that far in your learning and understanding if you don't read the Torah, right? I didn't just boom overnight come to that and realize that. Some people, they just steeped in the New Testament. Oh, they will fight to the bloody death for defending this God that they've come to know and love. And says talk to them, right? And says talk to them. And that's what makes it really weird for some people. And that makes it really hard for some people to come out, because if they hear Yahuwah talking to them, I'm not saying that they don't, because Israel will hear Yahuwah. Real Israel will hear the voice of Yahuwah. But they're still ignorant to who he is, and they're calling him by wrong names. They're saying he's divided and he's this and he's that. Well, no, it's just one. The voice that you always hear. If it's Yahuwah, by reading the Torah, you'll know the voice if you've been hearing if it's Yahuwah or not, right? Everything you hear from Yahuwah, when you put it into practice, it leads to life. It leads to life, not death. Some of the other voices we've been hearing, as we begin hearing the words of Yah by reading through his Torah, we're able to identify voices. Just it's everything Yahuwah has done can be seen in nature, even in your own household, in your own family. Aren't you able to identify the voices of your family members, even if you had your eyes closed, even if you were talking to them on the phone? If you are familiar and you're in relationship with your family members and even friends, when you hear their voice, you know who they are. And when somebody comes impersonating them, even if they sound really just like them, you know whether it's an impersonator or if it's the real person. Same thing happened in the spiritual realm. Like, seriously, the same thing. It's the exact same thing. But your ears won't be sharpened to what his voice really sounds like until you read the Torah. Like, you really have to go through one and just really take it in, right? Don't be a religious nut about it either. Don't be super religious. That'll get you nowhere, but frustrated. So, with that being said, but that was it, y'all. So, we're going to go ahead and end this today. I enjoyed it today. So, I see y'all back here tomorrow, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce.